Hello there, I am the Biblical Translator, and today's scripture is taken from Mark 12:41, and it's entitled The Widow's Offering. Jesus sat down near the collection box in the temple and watched as the crowds dropped in their money. Many rich people put in large amounts, then a poor widow came and dropped in 2 small coins. Jesus called his disciples to him and said, "I tell you the truth. This poor widow has given more than all the others who are making contributions, for they gave a tiny part of their surplus, but she, poor as she is, has given everything she had to live on." Now, some people, they think that when they're being generous, it's got to do with how much they give. Like if they give away £100 or £200 or £500, whatever it is, and they give it, but it doesn't put a dent in what they have, in their savings or their income. And it's like the rich people, the powerful people who are constantly, saying, "Oh, we're going to give the elderly an extra £100 a month," or they'll give people on benefits an extra 500 over the Christmas. Number one, the money isn't really coming from them out of their pocket, but they are behaving as though they are generous. But it doesn't put a dent in how much they have. So yes, while people can say, "Oh, we've got such a generous government," when you really think about it, it's not generosity in the terms that they're talking about in the Bible if it doesn't put a dent. And it's just like with the offering. If you put in £100 and you've got like £500 surplus in your wallet, and you decide to give 100 and it doesn't put a dent in it, it doesn't have the same meaning as somebody who may be on welfare benefits or is really, really poor, and they've only got a few shekels and they put those shekels in the collection box. There's a different sense of giving, and it's not like the church or God doesn't appreciate the large sums of money, but what he's trying to say is what has more value is the sacrifices you make in order to be generous. Anyone can be generous in their own way, but some people make more sacrifices to be generous, and it's about the sacrifices people make in this life in order to help others, in order to serve others. That is important. If you're doing things and it doesn't, like I say, make a dent in your pocket or in what you're doing, some people, to like these days, you get people who don't send Christmas cards anymore, the hard paper Christmas cards. Because number one, they're expensive. You have to buy a stamp. The stamps are expensive, and you have to go to the post box and you have to deliver it. That takes effort, and it takes time, and it takes money. So what do people do now? They either do these electronic icons, or they send a quick message to about 5 or 10 or 15 people, which only takes them a couple of seconds, and it doesn't carry the same weight. Yes, you're letting people know that you've remembered them, but how much effort has it taken? And it's a similar thing about people who just do not want to make the effort or the sacrifice anymore, because whether or not they're too lazy, they can't be bothered, they've lost enthusiasm, and people just aren't as important as they used to be to individuals. So when I was reading that scripture, what it brought home to me is that we need to make more sacrifices for people we love. Some people we don't know. We need to make more effort for people and not just look for the quick way out, the most expedient way. Expediency, if you're busy and you're going abroad and people understand that this is your particular situation, then yes, you might be forgiven for that. But for the most part, make an effort to do something that somebody can actually appreciate and say, "Wow, she went out of her way. She didn't have to do that." She didn't have to buy me a card. She could have sent me an icon and an emoji and said Happy Christmas. I would have still been acknowledged. But there is something about making an effort to do something for someone. And that is what is important. And that is what this scripture is about. Making an effort, making a sacrifice. And that is where generosity comes in. That is what you call true generosity. It's like when you get somebody who is well off and they take you to a really, really posh restaurant and they say, order anything on the menu. And you're like, wow, and you have champagne and you have lobster and you have steak and you have all of this stuff. You can eat to your heart's content. And then you have somebody who is maybe a student and they have, somebody who's on a very, very low income. And they decide, okay, they take home £100 for the week. And out of that £100, they have to give their parents maybe £40, and they have to be able to buy food for themselves, clothes for themselves, and yet they still say, look, I'd like to take you out for a meal. And they take you to maybe McDonald's, or they take you to another little place that doesn't cost much, but it costs them. They've made a big sacrifice to take you to somewhere that, even though it's more humble and you might just be having a burger or a sandwich, it's costing, the sacrifice they are making is much more than somebody who's taking you to a posh restaurant. And a lot of people get that confused. They get it confused by the amount of money people spend, as opposed to what sacrifice did it take for that person to get me what they got me. And so today, especially when you're thinking about Christmas and you're thinking about whether or not what type of gifts you get, or whether you don't get any gifts, try to think about the person's situation, the person's position, and then you can say whether or not you appreciate that gift. And yeah, I think that's all I'm going to say for now, and take care. Bye-bye.